Kiran.
Morning, Rangada. Good morning, everybody.
The 1st of August.
Uh,
May everybody have a very nice first month.
Prosperity Day.
Yeah, prosperity. May everybody be prosperous and happy. Sometimes prosperity does not give you happiness.
Sumki, in this, please post your YouTube link. How many times we have posted again? You have done it? Oh, okay. Okay. Shilpa was asking me again. I have to look at it.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. So, we have to read today page 192. There are 4 main standards of human conduct. So, since everybody is there, shall we start? I think we can start.
Yes, Rangada.
Yeah, we can start.
We can start 1 minute more actually.
Yeah, but who is there? We are waiting for whom? I think everybody has come.
Yes, we can. That is what I said, Rangada. We can start. It's all 59 already also.
Yeah. So, volunteer for reading the para. All of you are hesitating.
Shall I read, Rangada?
Yes, Tuesday is your day. Go ahead. Yeah.
There are 4 main standards of human conduct that make an ascending scale. The first is personal need, preference, and desire. The second is the law and good of the collectivity. The third is an ideal ethic. The last is the highest divine law of the nature.
So very clearly he has given you. The first is when you are at a not yet developed enough, you have to develop yourself. You have to develop your mind, you have to develop your vital, you have to develop your aesthetic sensibilities, your moral character, and then also develop yourself also physically. You must not be ill, you must be capable of handling difficult situations. So this is the first. Okay. Tarika, good morning. Oh, Tarika.
Good morning, everyone.
So the first is the good of what sister was saying, personal need, preference, and desire. All these are also very, very valid at a certain level. And note carefully that even in the Indian conception, okay, the 4 stages of human life also, karma also comes in. Okay. So first is brahmacharya, then there is the grihastha, then there is the vanaprastha, finally there is the sannyasa. So there also the first is grihastha, okay? Kama, artha, moksha. All these are valid. Note carefully. It's only when you enter into a spiritual life that things change. But for the normal man, this is the normal condition. We must not condemn those who are egoistic in that sense. Okay? With a proper understanding. Of course, you have to control him because his ego may be too much. So first is a personal need, preference, and desire. All understandable, but sometimes they have to be reined in. They have to be controlled because this may go out of control. The second is the law and good of the collectivity. This is exactly what society does. It controls the individuals too much of egoistic activity. Okay. So, and the third is an ethic, the ideal ethic. Ethic is moral and conduct. And the last is no rules at all. the highest divine law of the nature. You remember that famous quote from the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. No standards at all, depend on me entirely. I will tell you what you have to do, what you have not to do. So this is a very small para, laying down very clearly the four. But why four? Why should there not be more? Is a question that comes up. So it is when you simplify things, okay, there can be many, many combinations of all these things. You can be in a position where your egoism is controlled by society. There is also sometimes the social laws also spill on to ethical rules. Okay, the social laws are very clear. They are the laws of the country, passed by parliament or by convention. Okay, they are these are things you have to do. Finally, you see, complete surrender to the divine and not obeying any laws, whatever they be. You may, if the divine is not going to tell you to flout all the laws, but if necessary, they can be flouted. That's the whole point. So, we can read the next one, here the four. Remember also that the division of society into castes also is four. But that doesn't mean to say that there are only four types. It only means that when you boil down to the essential characteristics of man, they become of four types. One is inclined towards knowledge, one is inclined towards governance and force and how to put it, organization of society, that's a Kshatriya. Then you have the Vaishya, who provides for the prosperity, okay, and the well-being of society, the Vaishya. And finally, you have the Shudra, who does all the menial works. There are some people who need to do the lowest kind of work. Okay? Their house has to be swept, your clothes have to be washed. So there also there is a function there. So these are the four types. So combinations of all these things are also there, but these are the four types. Behavior. Standards of conduct, four. Ego-based, society-based, morality-based, and spirituality-based. Now we can read the next para. Very small para it was. Man starts on the long career of the evolution. Who will read?
Shall I read?
Okay, you have the text with you?
Yes.
Go ahead, read it. Man starts.
Man starts on the long career of his evolution with only the first two of these four to enlighten and lead him. For they constitute the law of the animal and vital existence, and it is as the vital and physical animal, man, that he begins his progress. The true business of man upon earth is to express in the type of humanity a growing image of the divine, whether knowingly or unknowingly. It is to this end that nature is working in him under the thick veil of her inner and outer processes. But the material or animal man is ignorant of the inner aim of life. He knows only its needs and its desires, and he has necessarily no other guide to what is required of him than his own perception of need and his own stirrings and pointings of desire. To satisfy his physical and vital demands and necessities before all things else, and in the next rank, whatever emotional or mental cravings or imaginations or dynamic notions rise in him must be the first natural rule of his conduct. The sole balancing or overpowering law that can modify or contradict this pressing natural claim is the demand put on him by the ideas, needs, and desires of his family, community or tribe, the herd, the pack of which he is a member.
So Surendra has clubbed both the first two things together, he has clubbed them together because they are almost always there together. Even in an animal pack, okay, there is some animals misbehave and they are punished. Okay, that also is there. Okay, in the animal herd. So both are there. Srimli is not saying that those who are doing egoistic works and all that have to be encouraged or to be tolerated. Sometimes you don't have to tolerate them. But the whole question is they have to be, it has to be understood that it is there at that level. The understanding is there, but they need to be also sometimes controlled. And that's why he has put in also the society thing. Okay. So, all right. So very clear what he's saying, but we can go through the each sentence. Very simple. Man starts on the long career of his evolution. And he starts on what level? He starts on the animal level. So naturally, what the animal needs, he also, in the beginning, it's like that, slowly becomes more and more complex. Man starts on the long career of evolution with only the first two of these four to enlighten and lead him. The question of morality does not arise for him at all, the undeveloped man. For they constitute the law of his animal and vital existence. The animal existence, he needs to eat, he needs to sleep, and he needs to reproduce. These are the animal existence needs. Then the vital existence. Vital existence, maybe he wants a little more. Okay, desire also comes in to satisfy these three needs. So that also is understandable. Understandable, but it has to be controlled. And that's why he brings in this society which controls him. And it is as a vital and physical animal man that he begins his progress. The true business of man upon earth is to express in the type of humanity a growing image of the divine. This is the ultimate goal of man's existence. He has to become nearer and nearer, he has to go to the divine consciousness. Whether knowingly or unknowingly, it is to this end that nature is working in him under the thick veil of her inner and outer processes. The inner processes are the psychological conditions and he is undergoing, and the outer processes also are there in the physical world. But the material or animal man is ignorant of the inner aim of life, naturally. He doesn't know that he is to go to the divine. May not even be conscious that there is a divine. He knows only his needs and his desires, and he has necessarily no other guide to what is required of him than his own perceptions of his own perceptions. That's in one. I lost him. Just one second. His own perception of need and his own stirrings and pointings of desire. Interesting words. Sometimes the desire makes movement in you, makes you restless. So the stirrings and pointings, more specifically, you go towards a particular type of want, and that's the pointings of desire. To satisfy his physical and vital demands and necessities before all things else. Okay? And in the next rank, whatever emotional or mental cravings or imaginations or dynamic notions arise in him must be the first natural rule of his conduct. Interesting, even the savage man has got emotional and mental cravings. Mental cravings may be a little later than the savage, but even then, emotional definitely is there. Even the animals have emotional needs. Mental cravings or imaginations or dynamic notions. That's interesting. You have very specific aims in life. Okay? There's one who wants to express himself. Dynamic notions. I must become the head of a department. I must become a great inventor. I must become famous. These are all the dynamic notions. I must win the election. These sort of things. Rise in him must be the first natural rule of his conduct. That is what he obeys automatically, without thought. The sole balancing or overpowering law that can modify or contradict this pressing natural claim is a demand put on him by the ideas, needs, and desires of his family, community, or tribe, the herd, the pack of which he is a member. So, finally, he has spoken about the herd and the pack also. It goes down right to the animal level also. This is a known thing. Now, he's saying first of all, the pressure will come from the family. Okay. The child wants to do something, but the family wants something else. They have to control him. Very often, the family needs also are not absolutely justified. But anyway, he is controlled in that. Then there is a community or tribe. Okay, they will not allow you. In India, it's very common. In which caste you are, you have to marry only within that caste. You can't marry anywhere else. This thing also is there in the north of India, and it goes so far as to even the village chief, the village, he will see to it that nobody misbehaves in these matters of marriage, okay, and romance. All these things are not allowed. They call them the khap. Okay. And sometimes they resort even to honor killing. It's not at all uncommon in the north, Punjab and other places. In Pakistan, it's very common. Okay. They kill even their own kin because they have disobeyed the laws. So this is what the demands of the community or tribe, the herd and pack of which he is a member. That's it.
So why he has used the word herd and pack for human being also?
No, I don't think you can. In a very ironical way, you can say the herd for human. But the herd and pack is always for the animal only. Okay.
Yeah, but here it is not for the animal, right?
No, it is.
No, but you have herd mentality in human beings.
Maybe you can say there is an ironical use. Okay. I don't think you can use the word herd for human beings. Can you? I don't know. I don't think so.
Rangada, we say no herd mentality in human beings.
But then that's the suggestion of the animal, no?
Yes.
When you say herd mentality, it means the average human understanding of things, which is not at all the right one.
Yeah, and
Yes,
the
but human beings also behave like animals, no?
animals, yes, exactly.
I mean, that is our tendency still, no? We've not risen above the animal. So we do have a herd mentality, like during Diwali time, everybody will do shopping. So whether you need anything or not, you'll go and do shopping. So that's herd mentality.
Okay. And maybe it can be used, yeah. But it is always used
The using is not, I don't know.
in a negative sense. No? It is always a pejorative sense. If you use for
Yes.
human beings, it's a pejorative sense, negative. It's not a praise. Okay. So we can now go to the next paragraph. So Yasmin has read. Now next someone has to read. If Pallavi and Yasmin have read, and now we can read the next one.
I'll read Rangada.
Okay. Okay, Tarika, go ahead.
If man could live to himself, and this he could only do if the development of the individual were the sole object of the divine in the world, this second law would not at all need to come into operation. But all existence proceeds by the mutual action and reaction of the whole and parts, the need for each other of the constituents and the thing constituted, the interdependence of the group and the individuals of the group. In the language of Indian philosophy, the divine manifests himself always in the double form of the separative and the collective being. Vyasti Samasti. Man, pressing after the growth of his separate individuality and its fullness and freedom, is unable to satisfy even his own personal needs and desires, except in conjunction with other men. He is a whole in himself and yet incomplete without others. This obligation englobes his personal law of conduct in a group law, which arises from the formation of a lasting group entity with a collective mind and life of its own, to which his own embodied mind and life are subordinated as a transitory unit. And yet, is there something in him, immortal and free, not bound to this group body, which outlasts him, his own embodied existence, but cannot outlast or claim to chain by its law his eternal spirit?
So now he is discussing the second law, the social law. Okay, and it's interesting what he's saying. We'll have a look at it. The man cannot live by himself. This is a thing which he has stressed many times before also, and that is why when the Gita also, when you have to sacrifice, the concept of sacrifice, you can't live by yourself. You need everybody else. You need your servant, you need your doctor, you need the tailor, you need everybody else. You have to live together. Not only that, you need even the inanimate nature. You need trees for your food. Maybe even animals you need for your food. You need animals also to take you from one place to another place. So transport. You have to depend on the universe. So to put it in a very, very general way, man, the individual, depends on the universe. Okay? And you are constantly interacting with the universe. The universe interacts with you and you are interacting with the universe. It's not possible to be separate from it. You can't survive that. So, if man could live to himself, suppose it was possible for him to live all by himself, and this he could do only if the development of the individual were the sole object of the divine in the world. Then the second law of the society would not be necessary, obviously, because there is no dependence. You don't depend on anything. You can develop yourself independently. So the second law would not come into operation at all. But all existence proceeds by the mutual action and reaction of the whole and the parts. The whole is the universe and the parts are the individuals. And these individuals, it goes right down to even the lowest creature, okay? The insect and even smaller, the worm, they also need the universe. The individual, the collective and the part. The collective and the part. This is a huge problem even in politics. Should man live for himself freely, or should he be a part of should he place the good of the collectivity first before himself? There is a whole problem and the problem has not been solved. Okay? Some are capitalistic states and some are social states or even dictatorships. Both the ideas are there and we have not been able to solve the problem. But all existence proceeds by mutual action and reaction of the whole and the parts. The need for each other of the constituents and the thing constituted, the interdependence of the group and the individuals of the group. Okay? There is a constant interaction and need for both. The collectivity needs the individual and the individual also needs the collective. In the language of Indian philosophy, the divine manifests himself always in the double form of the separated, that's the individual, and the collective, that's a society, being. Vyashti and Samashti. Okay, here note the dots under S and T. These are called diacritical marks. So, Tarika, you should have noted because you do Sanskrit. They are called diacritical marks. It's not Vyashti. It's not Swasta. Okay.
Vyashti.
Yeah, and Samashti.
Samashti.
Like table.
Hmm.
Yeah, Samashti. There's a community in Orville, Samashti.
Yeah.
So this is what he's saying. The constant interaction between the individual and the collective. Man pressing after the growth of his separate individuality.
But Rangada, I don't know the meaning of Vyashti and Samashti.
Samashti is a collectivity and Vyashti is the individual. Okay. Vyakta. Vyakta means manifested, that which is obvious, a form. Okay. The, from which all the other words also come. The Bengali word basto, vyasta, busy.
Oh.
Yeah, all these things come from this one. Yes. We, us. Okay. Now note the root. Very interesting. We, us is to be, and we is
Vishesh.
outwards. So when
Vishesha. V is for Vishesha, no?
pardon, we is,
V for Vishesha, no?
yeah, that's right. But the Vishesha means individuality. And we also means spreading out, okay? Spreading out, going outwards. You see very carefully, you will see that both are the same meaning. Okay, Vishesha is when it particularizes itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when a thing becomes large, it is breaking up into many. So that's right. So Vyashti and Samashti. Man, pressing after the growth of his separate individuality and his fullness and freedom, is unable to satisfy even his own personal needs and desires, except in conjunction with other men. That's very obvious. In fact, Sriramda says something very interesting. He says, man should develop himself, but he does that against the universe, whereas he should be doing that with the universe. You have to cooperate with the others and satisfy your needs, but you must not fight the others and satisfy your needs. So, this is what Simba is saying. By himself, he cannot always satisfy his needs and desires. Okay. He is a whole in himself, and yet incomplete without others. This obligation englobes his personal law of conduct in a group law. That's why the group law has to come into existence, which arises from the formation of a lasting group entity with a collective mind and life of its own, to which his own embodied mind and life are subordinated as a transitory unit. You are a transitory unit, but the collectivity is more longer lasting. Okay? The Indian nation will live on, but individuals there will be born and will die. Okay? Exactly in the same way, every community also, okay, the community is longer lasting than the individual. That's why he's saying the individual is a transitory unit. Okay? And yet, is there something in him immortal and free? He may be transitory in his outer body, mind, life, but there is something immortal in him. And yet, is there something in him immortal and free, not bound to his brute body, which outlasts his own embodied existence, but cannot outlast or claim to change by its law his eternal spirit. The body, mind, life is governed by social rules, but not his soul. That's why the rules and regulations of society actually hamper and irritate the yogi. The yogi wants to be free, okay? But they won't allow him to be. So he has to go outside society. That's one of the reasons why in India they had to give up the world, give up family, give up collectivity and go away, because they want total freedom. That's one of the reasons. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons. Okay? So the connection between the individual and society is very clear. So we can now read another, because they are all very small patterns. So in itself, this seemingly larger and overriding law. So 3 have already read, and now Archana or Shilpa. Shilpa was volunteering.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm reading.
In itself.
In itself, this seemingly larger and overriding law is no more than an experience and extensions of the vital and animal principle that governs the individual elementary man. It is the law of the pack or herd. The individual identifies partially his life with the life of a certain number of other individuals with whom he is associated by birth, choice, or circumstances. And since the existence of the group is necessary for his own existence and satisfaction in time, if not from the first, its preservations, the fulfillment of its needs, and the satisfaction of its collective nations, desires, habits of living, without which it would not hold together, must come to take a primary place. The satisfaction of personal idea and feeling, need and desire, propensity and habit has to be constantly subordinated by the necessity of the situation and not from any moral or altruistic, uh, altruistic motive to the satisfaction of the ideas and feelings, needs and desires, propensities and habits, not of this or that other individual or number of the individuals, but of the society as a whole. This social need is the obscure matrix of morality and of man's ethical impulse.
The last sentence is very interesting. The social need slowly turns into the moral need. Okay? But the social need is not as yet the obscure matter, is only the vague idea. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot do this. Okay? There is social need. There is nothing moral about it. But from there, the very fact that you can't do this and you can do this, it goes on to the individual and becomes moral law. Obscure matrix of morality and of man's ethical impulse. So we can go through this para. It's quite a simple para. Later on, some interesting discussions will come. In itself, I'm reading each sentence. In itself, this seemingly larger and overriding law, okay, is no more than an extension of the vital and animal principle that governs the individual elementary man. So, Sridhar says something interesting. Value-wise, the social law is not something superior to the individual law of ego. It's basically the same thing. The ego in man, he behaves in an individualistic manner. But there's an ego in the collectivity also. And though it becomes the collective ego, that becomes more important. That's what he's saying. That's why he's saying seemingly. Seemingly larger, not at all more valuable. It's the same law, enlarged a little bit, okay? But not superior, not value in value. Higher, not higher in value at all. In itself, this seemingly larger and overriding law is no more than an extension of the vital and animal principle that governs the individual elementary man. Elementary, very, very fundamental, very, very at a low level. Okay? Elementary. It is the law of the pack or herd. Here again using the same words, the pack or the herd. Okay? It starts on the animal level. The individual identifies partially his life with the life of a certain number of other individuals. It can be the family, it can be a larger community, and take the ashram. There are 2,000 people who are all necessarily connected with each other, whether we like it or not. Okay? Like that, there are communities. And since the existence of the group is necessary for his own existence and satisfaction, in time, if not from the first, its preservation, the fulfillment of its needs, and the satisfaction of its collective notions, desires, habits of living, without which it would not hold together, must come to take a primary place. So, the individual need slowly, gradually evolves towards the collective need. That's what he's saying. And in different conditions, different rules and regulations will come. Okay. The satisfaction of personal idea and feeling, need and desire. Note carefully, he is using 4 words. Personal idea. Even your idea sometimes has to tally with the social idea. So, and feeling, that also is important. need and desire, propensity and habit has to be constantly subordinated, made inferior to, subordinated by the necessity of the situation and not from any moral or altruistic motion. Altruistic, philanthropic. You can pronounce altruism or you can also pronounce altruism. Altruism is philanthropy, charitable behavior. The satisfaction, idea, feelings, needs, and desires, and habits. I repeat, the same thing also applies to the collectivity. It is repeating word for word. Okay, so it's very interesting. You know that. So it's not something superior. It's the same thing. Which without which the whole together must come to a primary. The satisfaction of personal idea and feeling, need and desire, propensity and habit, same words, has to be constantly subordinated by the necessity of the situation and not from any moral or altruistic motive. To the satisfaction of the ideas, feelings, needs, desires, propensities, and habits. The only difference is he is using all those earlier words in singular. Now he is putting them in plural. Okay, just see really. Idea, ideas. Feeling, feelings. Need, needs. Desire, desires. Propensity, propensities. Okay, habit, habits. How careful should I be? Not of this or that other individual or number of individuals, but of the society as a whole. This social need is the obscure matrix of morality, the framework, the obscure framework of morality and of man's ethical impulse. When you say society tells you that you can't do this and you have to do this. For instance, you can't cross a red light in traffic. So when you say you can't, start extending that to other things. Okay, you can't hurt somebody else. You can't hurt his reputation. You can't do harm to him. So this can't and don't start becoming the obscure matrix of morality. In morality, there are very clearly do's and don'ts. That's the whole point. So it becomes the starting point. The social need becomes the starting point of morality. So the difference between social need and morality is this. In this, society tells the individual what to do and what not to do. But in the morality, it is the individual who looks into himself and sees that what he should do and should not do, and he passes that on to the society. That's the difference. Social need is, the social law is collective, imposed on the individual. The morality is the individual ideas imposed on the society. Right? 36. How big is the next para? It's not actually. It's not very big. Maybe we can read it. We've got 4 minutes, we can read. Archana, if you have the text, you can read. Or if Archana is busy in the dispensary, then maybe.
Shall I read?
Yeah.
Rangat, I won't be able to read that. Yes, Kiran, please read.
That's what I thought. Okay. So,
In the distance.
Kiran, yeah, you can. Kiran, you can read.
Okay.
Only today we'll read it. That's all.
Yes. It is not actually known that in any primitive times man lived to himself or with only his mate as to do some of the animals. All record of him to us as a social animal and not an isolated body and spirit. The law of the pack has always overridden his individual law of self-development. He seems always to have been born, to have lived, to have been formed as a unit in a mass, but logically and naturally, from the psychological viewpoint, the law of personal need and desire is primary. The social law comes in as a secondary and usurping power. Man has in him two distinct matter impulses, the individualistic and the communal, a personal life and a social life, a personal motive of conduct, a social motive of conduct. The possibility of that opposition and the attempt to find the equation lie at the every root of human civilization and persist in other figures when he has passed beyond the vital animal into a highly individualized mental and spiritual progress.
No, they're very interesting para. It raises certain questions. And also, the beginning of socialism, the science of society, okay, they, is a very recent science. Okay? But the ideas have been there long ago also. And it began with French author Voltaire. He, his idea was that the society came into being because there is social contract. When people found that they can't live alone, but they have to, so there is a contract that we all live together. So, of course, that theory has now been thrown out because in animals also, the social units in animals is a very interesting study. Okay, bees, ants, okay, they always cooperate with themselves. But there are also certain animals which are absolutely individualistic. So we'll discuss that next time. Okay. So it is not actually known. So this we will take up next time. So as I said to everybody, have a very nice month, the 1st of August, and I say au revoir to everybody.
Bonjour.
Thank you, Dr.
Have a nice day, everybody.